and therefore, these two together are signaling that the rupee will decline further. Also, because the rate of growth has declined, so I think people's confidence that Indian economy is doing well, that has been, somewhat dampened. Also, going forward, the employment situation is not very good in
Yes.
the country. And what happens is that, because of the unorganized sector not doing so well, the unorganized sector, which employs 94% of the workforce, that actually is the problem. So, in other words, the internal instability and the internal, problem coupled with the external instability globally, these
Yes.
two together, I think, are what underlie the decline of the rupee and the decline of the stock markets in India.
Right.
So, I think, yeah.
Professor Santosh Mehrotra, how can India, in fact, at this moment, because like Professor Kumar was explaining, it's a combination of factors, external and internal. Not much can be done with what is happening, over our shores, but within India, what is it that the government, in fact, can do to safeguard and make sure that the economy is on the right track?
Let's face it, the rupee has actually appreciated, and it's a good thing that the rupee is now depreciating. Let me explain. India's exports, as Professor Arun rightly just said, have not been growing, and one very important reason why exports have not been growing and imports have been growing is that we have our inflation rate is relatively higher than that of our competitors, and we have the RBI has unfortunately intervened far too much in the foreign exchange market. It has kept the rupee stronger than it needs to be or deserves to be. If you look, you see what is the most important indicator from the purposes for the purposes of India's export. The most important indicator is the real effective exchange rate. The real effective exchange rate, or the RER, in India's case has been appreciating because our rupee has been, our inflation rate has been relatively high, while the inflation rate in other countries has been falling. So we must not in India take a nationalistic, patriotic kind of view about the rupee's fall. The real effective exchange rate must remain stable, and it should slightly depreciate, and it should depreciate slowly because of our inflation rate. Please remember that our exports were growing at a strong pace from 2004 to 14 because the real effective exchange rate was constant. On the other hand, in the last 10 years, we've allowed, the RBI has kept on intervening, and therefore we've allowed our rupee to appreciate. And that's not a good thing because that encourages imports, as has been happening, and it discourages exports.
Right.
So it's just as well that on the Indian side, we don't do very much. We just watch the market, and the RBI would be well advised to keep off because it has been actually intervening a lot. It has been intervening not just in the spot market,
Okay.
it's been intervening in the forwards market. And so, and it's been hiding all the activities in its forward market. And that's
Right.
a problem
Right.
because
Professor.
those are settled in dollars. Please
Okay.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Professor Arun Kumar, a lot of people, those who would be watching, both in India and abroad, there is a sense of, panic in the short-term investors. What would be your advice to people, those who are invested, in the Indian stock market, which saw massive growth and now a period of decline? Professor Kumar, can you hear me, sir?
Hello, I can't hear.
We'll try and fix that. We'll just try and fix that. Professor
Let me
Mehrotra, if you
answer
could
that.
take that.
Yeah, I can take that. Let me. You see, it's just what will happen is that if the rupee does depreciate, obviously foreign investors are likely to be encouraged to remain in the Indian market, and the Indian stock market will not fall as much as it has been falling, despite the fact that the US Fed has decided to keep its interest rate down to only two reductions rather than more reductions of its interest rate in the year 2025. So, as long as the dollar fetches more rupees, there is no particular reason why dollars will not flow in from the foreign portfolio investors. So that will tend to stabilize the market. That's point one. Point two, we have to remember, is that 2 million odd domestic retail investors are joining India's stock market every month. That's been happening. And the number of domestic investors, retail investors, not just the domestic institutional investors, have held the Indian stock market up. So I don't see much ground for panic here. These kind of ups and downs are likely to happen in the stock market. As it is, the stock market's doing rather well, much better than the economy is doing.
Absolutely, yes.
Because there are real issues about the fundamentals of India's economy. In the last 10 years, the growth rate of the economy, even by the government's own estimates, and those are not all very kosher, as both Professor Arun and I would agree. By its own estimate, it's 5.8%. In the preceding 10 years, the growth rate had been 7.8%. So there's already, we know that the government admits to a 2 percentage point lower growth rate.
Right.
So look, the point is that the growth rate is, all international agencies have been saying for some time, whether it's the World Bank, the IMF, the OECD, that India is not going to be growing in the 2020s until 2030 at anything more than 6.5, 6.7%. So this 8.4 that happened in the previous quarter was already the peak. And if you see what's been happening to the growth rate, as the government or the CSO is telling us,
right?
You look at every quarter from the last quarter of the financial year 23, every quarter it has fallen. 5.4 is the outcome in the most recent quarter.
So no need to panic. This is just volatility. I mean, if you are a long-term investor, just sit tight. And in fact, it is not going to impact you as much. Don't panic at this moment, or take any decision. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me at this moment. That's all the time that I have on this discussion. Appreciate your time. With that, we're slipping into a short break. Much more on India Global coming back.
Dealing with my lot means making smart choices. And with our family growing, I want to protect the life we've built. That's why I'm calling Smart Insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
OK, you can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000, depending on your age.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought, and could help my husband pay off the mortgage.
With our Smart Family Guarantee and 99% of claims having been paid, you'll have peace of mind.
I'll go ahead.
You'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 5753 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
Right now, UNICEF is supporting millions of children in emergencies around the world. It's what they do. Teams are bringing emergency supplies to children affected by the crisis in Gaza, healthcare and safe spaces for Ukraine's children, and medical supplies for children in Yemen. £10 could help bring safe drinking water and life-saving therapeutic food. Search UNICEF supplies online or text supplies to 85525. Your support brings hope for children caught in crisis.
Get comfy this Christmas with Pillow Pad Fold Away from JML. The multi-angle viewing stand that makes any device easy to see, comfortable and hands-free. The plush microfiber ledge holds any device securely at the perfect viewing angle. And it comes with a handy storage compartment. It's a great gift for sofa surfers. Whether you're sitting, lounging or lying down, get the perfect view with Pillow Pad Fold Away. Only $19.99 from Asda, Dunelm, Morrison's, Tesco and jmldirect.com.
Some people think life slows down in your 50s, but I've got a few rounds left to go. And I don't want my lot to have to worry about funeral costs. Let them spend their money on nicer things. So I decided to learn more about over 50s life insurance from Cover Today. Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period, unlike other insurers who could make you wait up to 2 years for full cover. With Cover Today, you're fully covered from day one, and you're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, unlike other things in life, the price never goes up. Go online or talk to their friendly UK team in just one phone call.
Cover Today are the only over 50s life insurer with no waiting period and no annoying trips to the doctors either. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Now I'm with Cover Today, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To find out more about Cover Today, call our friendly UK team on 0800 380 0060 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
Welcome back. Some update from the Russia-Ukraine war, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has revealed he discussed the potential deployment of Western troops in Ukraine with French President Emmanuel Macron. Earlier this year, Macron had suggested the possibility of sending ground troops to Ukraine, a stance that contrasts sharply with other Western leaders who have been cautious about escalating the conflict. In a post on X, Zelensky stated Ukraine and France share a common vision that reliable guarantees are essential to achievable peace. Unquote. He also expressed Ukraine's commitment to working with Macron's initiative to stabilize the path to peace. Macron's office reaffirmed France's unwavering support to Ukraine, calling it an absolute priority and pledging to continue providing the means for Ukraine to defend itself and counter Russia's aggression. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he is ready for potential talks with United States President-elect Donald Trump amid the expectations that the new administration in Washington will push for negotiated end to the war in Ukraine. In an escalation in another front in the crisis in West Asia, Israeli troops have launched a series of airstrikes on Yemen's capital, Sana'a, killing at least 9 people shortly after a Houthi missile targeted central Israel. Now, Thursday's strikes risk further escalation in the conflict with the Iranian-backed Houthis, who attacks on the Red Sea corridor have drastically impacted global shipping. Israel's military said it conducted 2 waves of strikes in a pre-planned operation that began early Thursday, which involved 14 fighter jets. The military said the first wave of strikes targeted Houthi infrastructure at ports of Hodeidah, Saif and the Ras Isa oil terminal on the Red Sea. Then in the second wave, the strikes were in fact to target the military targets. The fighter jets targeted Houthi energy infrastructures in Sana'a. Bangladesh has barred 20 former and current government officials from leaving the country over their involvement in cases of enforced disappearances. The Bangladeshi Home Ministry asked the security officials to withdraw the passports of those barred from leaving the country. The directive follows a request from the Commission of Inquiry on Enforced Disappearances. The letter mentions the second phase of investigations identified 20 additional government officials allegedly linked to cases of enforced disappearances, requesting the suspension of their passports and measures to prevent their departure from the country to aid the probe. The 20 former and current government officials include retired additional IGP and former Director General of Rapid Action Battalion. United States of America has sanctioned 4 Pakistani entities, including the state-owned flagship aerospace and defense agency, National Development Complex, on charges of contributing to armed Islamabad's long-range ballistic missile program. The State Department spokesperson, Matthew Miller, noted the entities were sanctioned under an executive order that targets proliferators of the weapons of mass destruction and their means of delivery. The move freezes any United States property belonging to the targeted entities and bars Americans from doing any business with them. Apart from NDC, the 3 other entities sanctioned by the United States are Akhtar and Sons Private Limited, affiliates International and Rockside Enterprise. All 3 are based in Karachi, while the NDC is in Islamabad. Shortly after the US statement, Pakistan said such policies have dangerous implications for strategic stability of our region and beyond. All right, we are slipping into a short break. On the other side, India versus China. Which way is Sri Lanka tilting?
सर, सबसे ज़्यादा ब्लॉकबस्टर फिल्में डिलीवर करी अमिताभ बच्चन के साथ में, और आप लोगों की जोड़ी टूटने का एक असर अमिताभ बच्चन जी पे भी जरूर पड़ा होगा।
जरूर पड़ा होगा, उनको इस बात का अफसोस हुआ होगा कि
कभी बात हुई उनकी आपकी इस सिलसिले में?
नहीं, मैं अगर होता उनकी जगह और जैसे जावेद साहब गए या मैं गया तो उनको यही राय देता है कि मत छोड़ो, अच्छा खासा तुम्हारी एक जोड़ी है, वो काम कर रही है, अच्छा खासा चल रहा है, काय के लिए इसको तोड़ते हो। तो मैं होता तो ये करता।
तो फिर आप उनकी बात सुन लेते और उसका फिर जोड़ी वापस आ जाती?
नहीं, जोड़ी वापस नहीं आती, बस ज़रूरत ही नहीं काम करने की, ये तोड़ने की, करते रहो। तो अगर मैं होता तो ये राय देता, पता नहीं उन्होंने क्या राय दी है वो।
पर आपकी बात हुई कभी उनसे इस सिलसिले में?
नहीं, बात तो होती रहती है कि मुलाकात हो जाती है तो। मगर वैसे वो ज़्यादा सख्ती से बात करते भी नहीं हैं,
अपने में रहने वाले,
अपने वो ज़्यादा किसी के करीब आते नहीं हैं, वो
अपने में ही रहने वाले रिजर्व आदमी हैं। और बाकी जो इंडस्ट्री थी, जब आप लोग हटे, आप लोगों की जोड़ी हटी, तो बाकी इंडस्ट्री का क्या रिएक्शन था उस समय? उसके बाद
कुछ लोग तो खुश होते हैं कि अच्छा हुआ, कुछ लोगों को तकलीफ होती है, अलग अलग लोगों के व्यूज़ होते हैं, अलग अलग लोगों के साथ।
पर आपने उसके बाद लोगों को बदलते हुए देखा? आप अपना अलग जब काम लेके जाते थे, अकेले जब काम लेके जाते थे, तो उसकी रिसेप्शन किसी अलग तरह?
नहीं, वो तो होता था, डेफिनेटली था वो।
पीपल वर चेंज्ड।
आप जो नाम का जो वैल्यू जो था,
ब्रांड की जो वैल्यू,
हाँ। अभी अगर आप कोई कहे दादाजी, तो कौन सा दादाजी? दादाजी धाकजी से बन सकता है। महेंद्र, कौन महेंद्र? महिंद्रा एंड महिंद्रा। हाँ, तो वो नाम के पैसे मिलते थे। अभी भी अगर वो वापस आएगा नाम के सलीम जावेद, तो उसका वैल्यू होगा, डेफिनेटली होगा।
तो क्यों नहीं एक फिल्म बना लीजिए?
हाँ, तो बनाने का इरादा है।
हाँ, डेफिनेटली। So we can break some news to our viewers that Salim Javed will be returning very soon.
Come back.
Coming soon.
हाँ, come back, coming soon.
Come back of Salim Javed.
हाँ.
Welcome back. Now to a story from France which had shocked not just the country but the entire world. In fact, this is after the report of repeated rape on this woman by her own husband. Now, a French court has found all 51 defendants guilty in a drugging and rape case that horrified the world. Giselle Pellicot's ex-husband of 50 years, Dominique Pellicot, had pleaded guilty to drugging her and repeatedly for almost a decade to rape her and to offer her unconscious body for sex to dozens of strangers he had met online while videographing the entire abuse. The panel of 5 judges sentenced, Dominique to maximum 20 years in a jail as requested by the prosecutors. The court imposed generally, shorter terms than 4 to 18 years demanded by the prosecution for the other defendants, almost all of whom were accused of raping Giselle. NDTV's Ross Cullen joins us from Paris for more on this story. Let's go across to Ross. Ross, just take our viewers through and just give us viewers a sense of the outrage and now what happens in this case.
Well, after 3.5 months, one of the most high-profile trials that France has ever seen has come to a conclusion. Judges in the southern French city of Avignon giving their verdicts on Thursday, finding all the defendants guilty. Now, the man at the heart of this trial, Dominique Pellicot, the former husband of Giselle Pellicot, sentenced to 20 years in jail, the maximum sentence. That was the length of time that the prosecutors had asked the judges to apply, and they have handed down that 20-year sentence, of which he's likely to serve about 2/3 of that time behind bars, and his lawyer also has not ruled out appealing against that sentence. All of the other defendants were found guilty and given custodial sentences ranging between 5 and 13 years. However, some of the men, at least 3 of them, did walk free on Thursday because they've already completed the required time behind bars during the trial. Now, Giselle Pellicot was speaking after the court proceedings on Thursday. She thanked her supporters, saying that she respected the decision, respected the verdicts from the judges, and that she never regretted her decision to go public. This trial could have been behind closed doors, but Giselle Pellicot wanted it to be in the public domain. The facts of the case are harrowing. She was drugged repeatedly by her husband for a period of 9 years. He then raped her, and he also recruited men online to come to the family house and attack Giselle Pellicot. So the trial has concluded now, but there are the possibilities that the prosecution might appeal against those sentences, asking for them to be reviewed and potentially increased. Ross Cullen, NDTV, Paris.
A day after Sri Lankan President Anura Kumara Dissanayake completed his 3-day visit to India, where he gave New Delhi key security assurances as well as investment opportunities and more, Dissanayake met with Queen Boyong, vice chairperson of the political advisory body of the Chinese Communist Party, who was visiting Sri Lanka. Discussions, in fact, between both the leaders, a development of a partnership, investments, and possible resumption of maritime research. In the meeting, Dissanayake expressed gratitude to the Chinese government for its support during debt restructuring as well as in the face of economic crisis, while emphasizing the continued need for Chinese support in the future. With this meeting, Dissanayake signals Sri Lanka's balancing act between India and China, with the government noting, in fact, that they want a win-win situation with all the countries. What does this mean for India? Let's try and decode this. So the big questions, ladies and gentlemen, that we are discussing on this important topic, in fact, at this moment is which way will the Sri Lankan government and the new president, which way is he tilting, which way will the country tilt? Win-win ties, what does this mean for India? Can there be a balancing act as far as both India and China are concerned? And how will India protect its maritime security in face of Sri Lanka, in fact, trying to balance the interest of both India and China? Joining me at this moment, Rohan Samarajiva, Sri Lankan policy analyst, chairman of, in fact, the think tank there. Brahma Shalani, strategic affairs expert, is also with us. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. Let me start by asking you, Mr. Shalani, the meeting with the Chinese, a similar kind of statement, telling the Chinese that their interests will also be taken care of. How should India view this?
I think what's significant is that Ankit paid his first overseas visit to India, not to China. But if you look at another Marxist prime minister in India's neighborhood, in Nepal, KP Oli, after taking office, he first visited Beijing. This was a breach of the long-standing custom in Nepal for a Nepalese prime minister to first visit India. So AKD did well by coming to New Delhi first, and he hasn't been to China so far. He did meet with this senior party official from China. He did give the right kind of assurances in New Delhi, but we know how in the past Sri Lanka has allowed Chinese subs to dock at Colombo port, and that in the past has raised concerns in New Delhi. And also this talk about, about balancing relations between, Sri Lanka's relations with India and China, pursuing a policy of equidistance between China and India. That harks back to what the Rajapaksa dynasty sought to do. They in fact came up with this phrase, equidistance. But India is located next door to Sri Lanka, while China is located far away from Sri Lanka. So it cannot be an equidistance foreign policy approach to India and China. I think AKD made the right noises in New Delhi. He said the right things. And I think his policies will be watched very, very carefully by Indian policymakers.
Right. Just to try and understand the Sri Lankan perspective, Rohan, how worried should India be with this outreach to China as well? Of course, we understand there are two competing big nations, in fact, at this moment, and Sri Lanka will have to balance the interest of both. How do you see the president, the current president, in fact, whether he's succeeding or not as far as this endeavor is concerned?
The issue can be seen in three parts. One is ordinary commercial merchant vessels. I don't think there's going to be a big dispute about that. The second is military vessels that are called military vessels. And there are certain protocols that have to be followed for doing that. And that problem, I think, is manageable. The really difficult issue is research vessels. And that is the current friction. Now, what the Chinese party officials said, and it was not reciprocated in that particular communique, was that they would like this matter to be resolved. Because what we were living under was a suspension of all visits by research vessels, irrespective of country. Now, my understanding was that that time that we bought with that suspension would be used to develop a systematic approach, a protocol for handling these matters, because Sri Lanka has got an exclusive economic zone of 17 times its landmass. And I think India is also beginning to pay attention to this problem, because the word hydrography was mentioned in the joint communique. I think what we should encourage is joint India-Sri Lanka research activities in the maritime zone. Now, unfortunately, instead of a policy that we were expecting, as of this afternoon, the government has announced that they're going to handle these matters on a case-by-case basis, which is seriously a suboptimal solution, because you don't want to be arguing these things on a case-by-case basis, either from the perspective of Sri Lanka, Sri Lankans, and from the perspective of India. What you want is a protocol, a systematic standard operating procedure that is properly consulted, not necessarily in the eyes of the news media, and then implemented fairly and transparently with due notice. Because I think we can't continue to prohibit all research, but I would even say that, any research vessel that works in this region has to have experts,
yes,
both from Sri Lanka and India, on it. And if people don't allow that,
right,
I don't think it should be allowed.
Brahmachalani, so let me understand this. what would be India would be watching these developments very, very closely. What would be a red line for India? Something that they want to, in fact, send across a message to the new Sri Lankan administration that red line should not be crossed. Else, of course, there will be strain on the relationship.
What China is seeking to do is to find some foothold in the Indian Ocean region. China has managed to gain dominance in the South China Sea. It's seeking now to march westward to the Indian Ocean. So this attempt to map the floor of the Indian Ocean through these so-called research vessels, which are huge ships, they are part of the military domain of China. They engaged in efforts to map the Indian Ocean seabed, to make it, to gain the kind of knowledge and understanding necessary for Chinese subs to operate by stealth in India's backyard. These are issues of concern to India because India is the dominant maritime power in the Indian Ocean. It doesn't want China now to expand its hold from the South China Sea to the Indian Ocean region. So whether it's Sri Lanka or the Maldives, if any of these countries seeks to do things that are inimical to India's interests, there will be reaction from India. But I think what our fellow panelists said, that if there's any research vessel that seeks to engage in activity in Sri Lanka's backyard or in Sri Lanka's exclusive economic zone, if there are Sri Lankan and Indian personnel on board, then obviously that will help to remove any misgivings, because there'll be then some degree of transparency. But you don't expect China to allow Sri Lankans, forget about Indians, even Sri Lankans to be actually part of the research activity. So I think that the Chinese, because of their opaque nature of carrying out maritime activities, they pose a challenge to whichever country with which they seek to collaborate with.
Right. Rohan, how big a challenge is trying to balance both these countries for Sri Lanka? Because there is already the development of the Hambantota port and the presence of the Chinese there, and India. And the president, when he came to India, he said that he would not let Sri Lankan soil be used for anything which challenges security of India. At this moment, how big a challenge is to try and balance both these countries out for the Sri Lankan administration?
I think from the time of Mrs. Bandaranaike, who was a great friend of India, we have been balancing. I like to tell the story that in 1971, when we had the insurrection led by essentially the current president's party, he wasn't even born back then. India was sent us troops to ensure the security of our airport, our link to the outside world. And China was one of the first countries to give us arms and ammunition to supplement our meager resources. So I think this balancing can be done, but just be done very carefully and cleverly. Now, the previous president, who was a very experienced political leader, he had put this suspension in place. What we were expecting was that the suspension would continue and we would get a sustainable and broadly consulted policy. Instead, we are getting this case-by-case story, which is going to make nobody happy. Case-by-case means they tell us that they're coming in 2 months, and then we say either yes or no. That is, in my opinion, a very unsatisfactory outcome in terms of balancing. So I agree that we have to take our geographical location into account, and we have to ensure, as our president said, that India's security interests are looked after. And I think that's what many sane Sri Lankans of goodwill would want. However, we can't, as an independent country, we can't say that the Chinese can't come here. We have to have our relationships with them as well. But as I said, if we have a policy that includes the presence of Sri Lankan scientists, experts, etc.,
yes,
and maybe even in some cases of Indian oversight or participation, then I think the Chinese will have to decide that they'll have to do research with somebody else. But those are matters that can be put in overall policy rather than on a case-by-case basis.
So the possibly till the time this some sort of a policy, doctrine does come through, it will be very closely watched with how the government is treading in the next few days as far as both these countries are concerned. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on this discussion. With that, we are slipping into a very short break. News and updates continue here. Stay tuned.
It's great to be helping out before my first grandchild arrives. And after having a few repairs myself, I need to make sure they'll all be protected. Which reminds me.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK. UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000.
Wow, that money could help with funeral costs or as a gift for my grandkid. I'll do it.
Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
He's going to be named after his granddad.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 470 4444 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
This is an urgent appeal from UNICEF UK. Children in Gaza are running out of food, water and medicine, and we need your help. UNICEF is working non-stop, providing life-saving medical supplies, clean water and fuel to keep services running. But we can't do it without you. Search UNICEF UK Gaza online or text Gaza to 84901 and help bring hope for children caught in this devastating conflict.
Engage and excite your pets with Chuckle Chums from JML, the interactive dog toy that keeps your furry friends engaged with boundless joy. Just shake to activate and watch your pup's eyes light up with excitement. And it switches itself off when they're done. It's great for both dogs, young and old. Choose from 2 adorable designs and treat your furry friends to engaging play this Christmas with Chuckle Chums. Only $14.99 from Asda, Boots, Morrisons, Tesco and jmldirect.com. JML, your Christmas made easier.
So you want the confidence to hit that high note. Here's how. Get the Harry's trial set. For just $3.95 you'll get our new trim and razor, shave gel and travel cover. With our new razor, even your 8th shave will be as smooth as your first. Its 5 German-engineered blades are our sharpest yet. Now with your newfound confidence, that high note is there for the taking. Harry's. Feel good, fellas.
Health isn't someday in the future, it's now. It's same-day GP appointments. Physio without GP referrals. Cancer testing, scans and diagnosis fast. Questions for an expert at any hour about anything. Support that lasts for as long as it takes. Feeling your best every day starts today. Call or go online now for your health insurance quote.
Welcome back now to our Trump Tracker series. President-elect Donald Trump has rejected a stopgap bill aimed at keeping the government funded beyond the end of the week, showing bipartisan efforts to prevent a government shutdown into turmoil. Now, the bill would have kept the government open until March 14th. A shutdown will occur at 12:01 a.m. on Saturday. There is currently no fallback plan. Trump is urging Congress to pass a comprehensive package before he takes office next month, calling for legislation that raises the government's borrowing authority and extends funding. He also insists on removing provisions supported by Democrats whose backing would be crucial for the passage of the bill. This early attempt to influence Congress more than a month before his inauguration could complicate efforts to avoid a shutdown that could disrupt air travel, law enforcement, and other critical services just days before the Christmas holiday. Trump has also warned Republicans supporting the current proposal could jeopardize their chances of re-election. More on President-elect Donald Trump. Donald Trump, the president-elect, has stirred further controversy, suggesting its northern neighbor, Canada, could join the United States of America as its 51st state. On the Truth Social uploaded on Wednesday, Trump claimed many Canadians would support the idea, arguing Canada would save massively on taxes and military protection. This isn't the first time Donald Trump has raised the idea during a dinner with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at his Mar-a-Lago estate in November as well. Trump reportedly joked about merging the two countries. This isn't the first time Trump has raised this idea. Now, Trump has been speaking about this. We are yet to hear from the Canadian government as far as Trump's assertions are concerned. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, the former Democratic Congresswoman nominated by President-elect Donald Trump as the next director of the National Intelligence, is facing mounting opposition in her confirmation process. Now, Gabbard was nominated for the intelligence role last month and has been criticized for the lack of experience and her position on Syria, Russia, and Ukraine. Watch this report for more.
This Indian-American former Democrat leader is Donald Trump's pick to become the new U.S. intelligence chief. However, there are questions being raised over Tulsi Gabbard's credentials. In the latest, 8 Republican senators seem unsure about supporting Gabbard to become America's top spy, according to a report. There are doubts about whether her nomination will secure Senate confirmation. The report suggests that there is serious pessimism about whether Gabbard would be able to secure the votes she needs to become Director of National Intelligence. However, Trump transition spokesperson Alexa Henning has said that no Republican senator has publicly said that they would vote against Gabbard. If the aforementioned 8 senators vote against Gabbard, she would need the support of 5 Democrats, something that is unlikely to happen.
Police forced to go after their political opponents.
The Director of National Intelligence occupies a powerful position that sits atop the nation's spy agencies and acts as the president's top intelligence advisor. Gabbard is a veteran who served for more than 2 decades, but she's facing a barrage of questions as she doesn't have the typical intelligence experience of past office holders. Public opinion also appears to be one of the hurdles Gabbard is facing. Polls suggest that only about 2 in 10 Americans approve of Gabbard's appointment, while about 3 in 10 disapprove. There are other concerns as well. Gabbard is facing criticism for meeting former dictator of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, in 2017, and years later saying that he was not an enemy of the US, though she later labeled him a brutal dictator. She's also been viewed as being soft on Russia. Critics point to her opposition to the US military aid to Ukraine in the war against Russia. They say she parrots the Kremlin's views. On the other hand, in a scathing letter, a group of nearly 100 former national security officials have urged the Senate to carefully scrutinize Gabbard's nomination.
I want to address the issue that's in the headlines right now. I stand in full support and wholeheartedly agree with the statements that President Trump has made over these last few days with regards to the developments in Syria. My own views and experiences have been shaped by my multiple deployments and seeing firsthand the cost of war and the threat of Islamist terrorism.
Amid the doubts and questions, she's also found support as hundreds of veterans have signed a letter supporting her nomination. However, she would need a lot more than that if she's to occupy one of the most powerful positions in the incoming Trump administration. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV World.
India and the United States have charted next steps in space collaboration, including human spaceflight, joint space exploration, and a commitment to facilitating commercial partnerships between space companies to advance the shared interest in the growing space economy. Meeting in Houston, officials from the two sides, including Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell and Indian Ambassador to United States Vinay Quatra, met NASA ISRO officials to identify new opportunities to strengthen their space partnership. Among the next steps discussed, including selecting 2 ISRO astronauts to train at the NASA's Johnson Space Center for the first ever joint effort between American and Indian astronauts. The confusion surrounding the venue for the ICC Champions Trophy 2025 is finally over. After months of delay, the International Cricket Council, the ICC, finally officially declared the venue for elite event. The ICC Men's Champions Trophy will be played in across Pakistan and a neutral venue, the ICC said, for India and Pakistan matches. It means India will play the matches at a neutral venue, including the knockout games if India qualifies. My colleague Osama Saab has more.
The ICC has confirmed that the ICC Champions Trophy, all the matches involving India and Pakistan, especially in the Future Tours program 2024 till the 2027 cycle, will be played at neutral venues. What it basically means is that all of India's matches in the upcoming ICC Champions Trophy, which is going to happen next year, all their matches will take place at a neutral venue. Now, this can either be UAE or Sri Lanka, whatever that the ICC decides. Similarly, the T20 World Cup that is going to take place in 2026, which is being co-hosted by India and Sri Lanka, Pakistan will play all its matches, most likely will play all its matches in Sri Lanka and not in India. Now, ICC has also made a couple of more announcements with respect to the Women's T20 World Cup as well. That is going to take place in 2028. Pakistan is supposed to host the Women's T20 World Cup. Now, the big point here is that it is not a part of that Future Tours program that is 2024 to the 2027 cycle, but the arrangements of neutral venues will also apply to this particular tournament as well. Now, another tournament, that is the 2025 Women's ODI World Cup, that is going to take place in India. Pakistan will play all their matches at the neutral venue. So, as far as the schedule is concerned, it has not come out yet, as you mentioned, and we'll be hoping that that schedule also comes out soon.
That's all the time that we have in this edition of India Global. Updates continue here on NDTV World. Stay tuned.
At Vodafone this Christmas, get the amazing Google Pixel 9 Pro XL and you can save a huge £648. Plus, now you can chat with Gemini to supercharge your creativity. Hurry, offer ends 19th of December. Vodafone, the nation's network.
This is an urgent winter appeal from Care International. Around the world, conflict and extreme weather have forced women and their families from the safety of their homes. Now they brace themselves for a brutally cold winter without adequate shelter, clothing or heating.
الولاد ما نعرف ندفيهم وبرد وصديق يعني نمنا الشتي ما يجينا ها غطي مابو أطفالنا حفيانين أطفالنا جوعانين.
With no home, shelter or way to keep warm, winter is a terrifying time. Help Care work with women when disaster strikes. By donating right now, you could help provide warmth, shelter and supplies to women who urgently need them. Call 0800 144 5550 or go online to give what you can. For women left with nothing, your donation means everything. Please donate today and help women like Rama seek shelter and hope this winter. Thank you.
Get comfy this Christmas with pillow pad fold away from JML. The multi-angle viewing stand that makes any device easy to see, comfortable and hands-free. The plush microfiber ledge holds any device securely at the perfect viewing angle. And it comes with a handy storage compartment. It's a great gift for sofa surfers. Whether you're sitting, lounging or lying down, get the perfect view with pillow pad fold away. Only $19.99 from Asda, Boots, Dunelm, Tesco and jmldirect.com.
This is Amy's first Christmas on the streets. She thought it couldn't be worse here than the abuse she suffered at home. But now she's cold, hungry, and desperate to find somewhere safe to stay. No young person should be forced to spend Christmas like this. What does it take to get Amy off the streets this Christmas? It starts with the Salvation Army and a Christmas gift from you. Will you call 0800 083 6633 and give £19? Your gift means we can give young homeless people a warm welcome out of the cold. Christmas food and cheer, and a helping hand to find somewhere safe to live. So this Christmas, will you help us give Amy a fresh start off the streets? Call the Salvation Army on 0800 083 6633 to give £19 now. Thank you.
The $3.95 trial set with our sharpest ever Truman razor. Get started now at harrys.com. Harry's. Feel good, fellas.
BJP accuses Rahul Gandhi of physically pushing their MPs and misbehavior. Rahul says they were blocking his way. Kharge says he was injured because of the chaos by BJP MPs. Congress and BJP lodge police complaints. The Anti-Corruption Bureau of the Telangana Police files a formal case against KT Ramarao in the Formula E scam. The BRS and Ramarao demanded discussion in the state legislature. At least 13 people have died, including 3 Navy personnel, unfortunately, in the Mumbai boat tragedy. The police file a case against the Navy speedboat driver who crashed into the ferry. The tragedy exposes major safety lapses. And it was an instinctive decision to retire, says Ashwin, as he is greeted by his fans back home in Chennai. The precision off spinner with 537 test scalps is all set for a new innings in life. Well, first up to the big story from Telangana. The Anti-Corruption Bureau in the state has officially filed a case against senior BRS leader and former minister KT Ramarao for alleged irregularities amounting to rupees 55 crore in organizing the Formula E car race held in Hyderabad during the BRS regime in 2023. The first race was held in February 2023 when Ramarao was a cabinet minister and his father Chandrasekhar Rao was the chief minister. Filing of the case was anticipated as the state cabinet had cleared the decks for the ACB to prosecute Ramarao. The issue has led to a heated exchange between the BRS and the Congress, with the BRS and Ramarao demanding a discussion in the legislature.
నిజంగా ఈ ప్రభుత్వానికి చిత్తశుద్ధి ఉంటే ఈ ప్రభుత్వానికి ఏమైనా ప్రజలకు వాస్తవాలు తెలవాలన్న విషయంలో వారికి ఏమైనా నిజంగానే ధైర్యం ఉంటే దయచేసి ఈ రేసులో ఏదో కుంభకోణం జరిగిందన్నారు కదా దాని మీద చర్చ పెట్టండి మొత్తం సమాధానం చెప్పడానికి నేను సిద్ధంగా ఉన్నానని చెప్పి మీ ద్వారా తెలియజేస్తా ఉన్నాను.
Uma Sudhir joins me live from Hyderabad. She's been tracking this case all this while. Uma, what's next for KT Ramarao? This could well turn into perhaps the biggest controversy in Telangana in the coming days.
So there have been two significant political developments today. One, of course, is this 10-page FIR that's been filed with KT Ramarao being named as accused number 1 and Special Chief Secretary Mr. Arvind Kumar, who is now in the Revenue Department Disaster Management as Special Chief Secretary. He's A2 in this case, and a former Chief Engineer with HMDA who's now retired is A3. There is another case that is also coming up for which a special investigation team was announced by the Chief Minister in the Assembly. SIT, and that relates to toll tenders for the outer ring road. And he has announced that SIT will be constituted, and its mandate and its framework guidelines will be given by the cabinet, and that also is something that falls within the purview of KT Ramarao. In the FIR related to the Formula E racing, they are specifically said at under 409, which means criminal breach of trust, criminal misconduct, criminal misappropriation, and also fraudulently taking away money, and for public servants saying that they fraudulently misappropriated government funds and have also allowed private individuals to benefit from it, and therefore provisions of the Prevention of Corruption Act as well slapped in this particular case. The violations we have been talking about, saying that oral orders were given, HMDA, which paid out the money, was not even part of a tripartite agreement when in fact it paid out all that money, and that the agreement happened much later than the payout that happened, that remittances to foreign remittances did not have RBI approval, and that this happened during a time when the model code of conduct was in place and part of the payment was made during that time, and none of this had any authorization as is required either from the cabinet or from the finance ministry or even concurrence of the law department in this particular case. So all this is being listed out as violations. I mean, we would expect that the ACB will call him in for questioning KT Ramarao for questioning in this particular case. Of course, politically, the BRS is fighting it out, saying that we want a discussion in the assembly, but unlikely that the government is going to have a discussion on something that is part of an investigation by the Anti-Corruption Bureau, for which they've already got a government nod to prosecute KTR, after which all this has unfolded. Back to you.
Thanks very much there, Uma, for that comprehensive update of that case. We'll keep a close track of that. But now to the acrimonious physical exchange between BJP and Congress members of Parliament in Parliament. Two BJP MPs, Pratap Sarangi and Mukesh Rajput, alleged they got hurt after being physically pushed by Rahul Gandhi in the midst of the protest. While the BJP demanded an apology from Rahul, the Congress leader told reporters that the BJP MPs were blocking his way, and that is what led to the melee there in Parliament. Congress leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, alleged that he was pushed and was injured in the knee. Meanwhile, a woman MP from Nagaland accused Rahul Gandhi of misbehaving. Both the Congress and the BJP have filed police complaints. These are some of the fierce political reactions that came in today.
हम एक शांत तरीके से लाइन में हम आ रहे थे, लेकिन उनको क्या सूझा मुझे मालूम नहीं। हम चलते हुए आ रहे हैं, उन्होंने मकर दौर पे आके हमको रोकने के लिए वहां बैठ गए, और हम पार्लियामेंट को टाइम भी खत्म हुआ था और 5 मिनट बाकी थी, इसलिए हम अंदर जाना चाहते थे, लेकिन उन्होंने दरवाजे पे रोका।
अमित शाह जी का बयान आता है और हम पहले से कह रहे हैं कि जो बीजेपी आरएसएस की सोच है, एंटी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल सोच है, एंटी अंबेडकर जी की सोच है, और डायरेक्टली इनके मंत्री ने, होम मिनिस्टर ने डायरेक्टली सबके सामने जो उनका माइंडसेट है वो सबके सामने उन्होंने दिखा दिया। हमने कहा कि अपॉलॉजी होनी चाहिए और उनको रिजाइन करना चाहिए।
राहुल जी बी.आर. अंबेडकर जी की फोटो लेकर शांतिपूर्वक जय भीम के नारे को बोलते हुए संसद में जा रहे थे। संसद में जाने से किसने रोका? आप देख लीजिए, हम इतने दिनों से प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं, साइड में प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं, जो भी आ रहा है जा रहा है, उसको पूरा रास्ता है।
आज जो कुछ संसद में हुआ उसकी कल्पना भी नहीं की जा सकती। आज जब भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सांसद मकर द्वार पर विरोध का प्रकटीकरण कर रहे थे, तब राहुल भी आए। सुरक्षा कर्मियों ने उनको कहा कि साइड में जो स्पेस है आप जाने के लिए उसका उपयोग करें, लेकिन जानबूझकर, सोच समझकर राहुल गांधी हमारे सांसदों के बीच में पहुंच गए, और न केवल बीच में पहुंचे, उन्होंने ऐसा व्यवहार किया, कोई कल्पना कर सकता है, धक्का मुक्की।
हमने श्रीमान राहुल गांधी जी के खिलाफ
दिल्ली पुलिस में शिकायत दर्ज कराई है। उनके द्वारा शारीरिक हमला और उकसाने के लिए।
जहाँ तक प्रताप जी सारंगी का प्रश्न है, उनको सिर में 2 टाँके इस समय लगे हुए हैं और साथ ही साथ हमारे मुकेश राजपूत के भी सिर में अच्छी खासी चोट लगी है, लेकिन दोनों की हालत अभी इस समय स्थिर हैं। डॉक्टर्स का यह कहना है कि अभी 2-3 दिन का समय हॉस्पिटल में और लग सकता है या इससे ज़्यादा का भी समय लग सकता है।
Now to a dramatic scenes and fierce exchange from the Karnataka legislature after senior BJP leader and party legislative council member C.T. Ravi allegedly used derogatory words while referring to the state women and child development minister, the only woman minister in the Karnataka cabinet, Lakshmi Hebbalkar. While Ravi denied the allegations, there was a furious exchange as Congress legislators demanded an apology from Ravi. In fact, some supporters of Lakshmi Hebbalkar, who's from Belagavi, even reportedly chased the BJP legislator. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has said a police complaint will be filed against Ravi.
ಮಾನ್ಯ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಅಷ್ಟು ನಾನು ಕಾನೂನು ತಜ್ಞ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಈಗೇನಿದೆ, ಈಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಆಡಿಯೋ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವುದು ಕ್ರಿಮಿನಲ್ ಅಫೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಅವರಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ಸಂಗತಿ ಅಲ್ಲ.
ಈಗ ಸಭಾಪತಿಗಳು ಏನೇ ರೂಲಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾವ ಅದನ್ನ ಫೇಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ?
ನಿಮಗೆ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನು ಏನು ನೋಡಿ, ನೀವೇನಂದ್ರೆ ಹೈಪೋಥೆಟಿಕಲ್ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸರಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು.
ವಜಾ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ
very filthy word to Srimati Lakshmi Hebbalkar, she's a minister in my cabinet, and it amounts to criminal offence. I don't know whether she has complained to the chairman also she has gone to the police station.
Sir, City Ravi denied saying that there is no record of it.
Take the actions according to the law.
Well, now to our special focus this evening. A fortnight since Pushpa 2 hit the screens and the movie is still going strong. In fact, it's unstoppable at the box office, breaking all records. It's become the first Indian film to cross 600 crores in collection in India and surpasses Stree 2, which took home 597 crores. It's already the biggest Indian film worldwide with collections well past 1,000 crore mark. How much more can Pushpa earn at the box office? Will it stop counting money? Joining us this evening, Girish Wankade, who's been there with us throughout this